Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is your host, Steve Ramona. And I'm excited today. In the green room before the show, we were talking, and it's interesting. You bring a guest on, you guys have an aligned values and thoughts. But what's more important, this guy's a true servant. My guest wants to serve any way possible. And that's what this show is all about. Dr. Travis Parry, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I want to jump in. Your dad is a central part of your business, and why?
Yeah, my dad is probably, if I look at all the mentors in my life, I just did a post on this a little bit ago on LinkedIn, all the different mentors and coaches and people I've had. My parents are just incredible people. They're not perfect, and nobody here in this world is. As we know, we're all imperfect people trying to make it better and serve. But I learned so many life lessons from my dad. I can't even begin. When he passed away, he was 49 when he died. I was actually really close to my dad. We mountain biked together. He coached me on a lot of my soccer teams, baseball, like you name it. He was very, very involved. He was a family man and he was a business owner. So I looked to him for guidance on how to earn money and going to college. And I served my church for a mission, a proselyting mission. And my dad and I, we served in the same place together. We went to Copenhagen, Denmark, 20 years apart from each other. And so we could speak Danish. So we have this connection. His mom is from Denmark, and I have a great connection with grandma. It's so I have a lot of layers there. And there were times where I needed to make decisions. I'd come back and talk to good old dad. Dad, what should I do this way? What about this and the other? And great. He just always had good advice that was never self-serving. And he really always had my best interest at heart. Yeah, I mean, what talk to me as a teenager when I was 14 or 15 about my parents. I'm gonna have a different story. Oh man, they were so strict and they wanted this and the other. And I look back on it now and like, hey, we survived, and I was one of the oldest, and we'll get into all those details. I'm a family guy. I have a PhD in family relations, but I understand family dynamics from a different perspective from academics as well as my experience. And looking at it from the reverse now, I can see that dad had an impact. Now that said, when dad died, that changed everything about my life moving forward. Everything. I was 26, and I got the news that dad was having a cardiac arrest, and I had to translate like a cardiac arrest. That's a heart attack. Oh my goodness. He'll be fine. Dad's healthy as an ox. He's on his mountain bike. He was with an EMT at the time who was I found out later was actually working on him for half an hour to try to keep him alive until the paramedics came in a helicopter and flew him to the hospital. Long story. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. Our family was just, to say we were in shock is the biggest understatement. This was absolutely out of the blue. They call it the widowmaker. We found out he had a 90% clogged artery, and the other three arteries were, normal, 20-25% ish, which is kind of normal. And unfortunately for standard Americans, it's the reason why we have so many heart-related deaths in this country. But he was on his mountain bike. Like he was riding 200 miles on his road bike every week. Like he was an athlete. So this was not totally unexpected. And to hear that it was a heart attack, induced, just understand.
Yeah.
That changed me as a person spiritually, because when I got up to give a talk at his funeral, it was packed. There were thousands of people from all over the country that came. He was a pillar in the community, pillar in our church. He's a business owner. He knew so many people that he had clients, he had fellow, people from the school that was there because he was involved in coaching. So there was so much going on at the time. But I remember standing up in front of that packed audience and what could I share with people who were hurting? And, the thing that came to my mind at the time when I got up there is this. This is not a tragedy. Tragedy is when somebody dies before they're able to live their life with purpose. And I said, my dad lived his purpose. He fulfilled his mission. this is not a tragedy. I know where he is, and I'll see him again. That doesn't make the hurt go away. The hurt is because I love him and I'm a part of him and I share his name. I'm named after him. It's just, there's a lot there to unpack. That was almost 18 years ago. And, I still get emotional talking about it, and it's hard. However, that said, I had to write his obituary, and I'm not a great writer. And I wasn't a great writer then. And I had to write about somebody that I looked up to and was my mentor, my dad. So hard. I know some people don't have a great relationship with their father, and I feel for you. That was not my case. Very blessed to have such a good relationship. And so I wanted to make it amazing. And you want to tell the best things about the people you love, right?
Yeah.
So as I'm trying to write this obituary, I just sat back and it's like, who in the world is going to write something like this for me someday? Will they? Will they want to? Will they be inspired enough to say, Travis was just a great businessman, but he was a better dad. And he was, what a servant in the church. And not that I care what men or women say about me. I care more about, well, what if I meet my maker and I haven't become the person that I needed to become here? That would hurt even more. I was a financial advisor at the time. I was helping my mom with a life insurance settlement, with helping her to, sell her home and make a new life for herself. And for years, I helped mom to get to a new phase in her life. And she eventually remarried to a really nice guy, and has had some, challenges, transitioning to this new life. And it's tough for her. But that said, I also had a transition in my business where I said, I'm a financial advisor and this is good. But man, I want to help people to have an experience without having to have the experience that I went through.
Yeah.
I want them to change their life for good. Am I doing what I really should be doing? And, it took a while, but I actually hung up my licenses as a financial advisor and said, it's time to learn more about stress, goal achievement, family, human development, psychology. And I did a master's in psychology. I did a PhD in human development and family relations, a dual PhD program here at Utah State. And, I tried to learn as much as I could from academia, from mentors, from coaches. I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into my education in several years until I was able to say, okay, here's a system that now I can say I can stand on, that has some backing, that has an origin in my father's passing. I call it the make time method, and it helps people to live their life in all areas of their life on purpose. And it's research backed, it's evidence based, and I love making this my life's work now. I enjoyed helping people reach their financial goals, but now I can help them with their health, their spiritual, their relationship, their fun and rec, their business goals in all areas of their life. But keep the most important things in balance.
Yeah. And that's serving so many different ways instead of just financially, which is a great way to serve. Love the story about your dad. And we talked about my dad and how similar it was. That leads to a very powerful question. How does family affect a person's business, a solopreneur, a startup, a CEO founder? What's that correlation there?
Everything. It's
Yeah.
everything. When I went to write a book in 2019, I was going to call it Live Life on Purpose. I'm all about what's your purpose? Like, how do you achieve this purpose? How do you become it? Because it's not really just what gets said on in your obituary and what gets put on your gravestone. It's sad when I see business accomplishments 90% of the time in an obituary. I'm like, okay, so people may have known you for that, but who were you as an individual, as a person? Most people, Covey said this really well. The end of their life on their deathbed are not going to say, gee, I wish I would have worked more. They're just not. So I interviewed over 250 business owners about their work and asked them about their habits. And many of them admitted they're probably workaholic. And so I've done some study in psychology, right? I have a master's, and I started looking at this very specific diagnosis. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. I don't diagnose, but I looked at the symptoms. And it's like, well, if you work over 55 hours, if you work more when you're stressed, if you avoid relationships and you'd rather work, like there's all these different symptoms that started to show up. And I started to see the people I was interviewing for this book and I realized, man, you guys kind of fit all of these molds. An average entrepreneur spends 72 hours a week at work in America. How do they spend time with their family? And it tends to be this thing where they um, slide. I call it sliding into this workaholic trap. They don't get up in the morning and say, gee, I want to be a workaholic today. But they wear it with a badge of honor. It's like, I do this for my clients. I do this for the world. Really? The most important people are behind that door when you get home. What are you doing with them? Because at the end of the day and at the end of your life, they're the ones going to be by your bedside if you've nourished that relationship. And that is a slap in the face for anyone, as I worked with so many workaholics now. And I do keynotes about this all over the country, and even across the pond, about these behaviors and the research that we've come to find in the book that I wrote called Achieving Balance, which is the #1 bestseller on Amazon in several countries. You can get it at achievingbalancebook.com. It's still available for sale there. It's allowed me to put that content out, and it went from live life on purpose to achieving balance. Because so many people are like, well, how do I balance this? How can I work for my family and still be with them? Mm-hmm. The culture says one thing, God says another. How do I balance this? So the #1 thing I found, is it okay if I give three points I found in this book?
Yep.
First point and biggest myth, balance is not an equilibrium. It is not a 50-50. It is not going on that stage and spinning all 10 plates at the same time and hoping that none of them fall. It is not, oh, well, some of them are going to bounce back and the ones that, are too fragile are going to break. This is all hogwash. It's not research-based. It's somebody's idea. I have a PhD. I know how to do research. I know how to interview people. I know how to put this together in qualitative and quantitative sources to be able to provide factual evidence. And the evidence says people feel balanced. They're not in equilibrium ever. They're not in some perfect, I'm going to spend 8, or I'm going to do, the same amount of hours in every area. It's not possible. What balance is making time for your highest priorities. It is a feeling. It's an emotional and spiritual feeling. And it helps with mental clarity. Mental, spiritual, physical, they're all related. They're all related. And what happens is the people who are balanced is they're making the time for their family. They're making the time for their spouse, or else they're going to lose that relationship. It's the #1 factor in any relationship is time together. They're making time to take care of their health. They're making time to go to church, to pray, to worship, to serve. They're doing the things that they know. It doesn't matter in which order they do it in. It's just the fact that they are making time for those most important things. Now, I'm not the values Nazi. I'm not going to go around and say, hey, I've got the 8 baby steps to helping you, achieve Travis's values. I do believe that everybody's values are different.
Yeah.
But those of us that value faith, we know that spiritual health is probably at the top of, if not the top of our list. And it's where a lot of people get hung up. Well, how do I do that? How do I make time? And, so we've come up with the make time method, but that myth of somehow being able to juggle everything all at the same time equally, it's absolutely not, possible. The second myth is that, well, gee, if I'm just super productive, productivity will solve all of my problems, that somehow productivity is the magic pill. It's false. Productivity I teach productivity. I teach time management. Like, you need to manage your time. You need to have an ideal calendar so you can, make time for all these areas of your life and be balanced. However, what people need is boundaries. If they do not have boundaries in their life, if they cannot say, I'm done with work at these times, and it's a no if people want me to work on a weekend or on a Sunday or on Christmas and whatever. If they don't set those boundaries, then people just walk right over them. And then their family, even though they say, I'm doing this for the family, I'm doing it for you guys, I'm providing a better life for you. It's probably true, but they're using that as an excuse to be a workaholic. They're using as an excuse to serve their clients and not have to deal with family or not be with them. And over time, it it's really hard to repair. It can be done, but it's very hard to repair those relationships. So set boundaries. How do you do that? Well, you have goals in every area of your life, not just business, not just money, not just what the world wants you to do. Set goals in your spirituality, set goals for your physical health, set goals for your mental health, your relationships with your family members. And that in and of itself will allow you to make time for those, because you have to essentially make time to accomplish those goals. So those are your boundaries. And when those become so good, you can't wait to leave work. I love this. I love talking to you. You can tell I need to shut up, but I love being able to spread this message. And I love being able, I'm very, very passionate about this, but I love going home. I love being with my family. I love going on trips. I love mountain biking. I love being able to serve in my church and help other people and see them come closer to Christ, because if I'm able to serve them. I love doing these other things. I love learning and reading scriptures. I love doing these things more than I love work. And unfortunately, in our society, we wear it like a badge of honor because this is who we are. This is our identity. No, it's not your identity. It's not. It's only part of it.
Right. And then the thing too is, as you're talking, people in debt are like, not to try Travis, I'm 100,000 in debt. I got to work to make off the debt. But that's in time. You don't have to work on a Saturday. It's not going to reduce your debt one day. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah. And there are times and seasons. And I'll preface this, Steve. I do believe in times and seasons. Ecclesiastes says, there's a time and season for everything, right? We know this. That said, those times and seasons need to have a boundary. Okay, it's tax season. And if I'm an accountant and I know, okay, I'm probably going to be working some extra during this season, or it's conference season and I need to go attend a bunch of conferences in the fall because this is where bulk of my clients come from. Okay, it's a season, or it's a specific period of your time in life. Well, I'm starting a business. Okay, but put boundaries in check. Make sure that you're still making time for those things that are super important, and say, when this time is up, I need to make this change. Otherwise, you'll slip right into the workaholic trap and you'll stay there because, quite honestly, you're lazy. You don't want to make a change. By human nature, we are looking for the easiest route. We're like water. We kind of flow where the easiest thing is to go, unless something's in our way and then we got to work. Yeah. So, that's just human nature. So just know that you really have to check yourself and have support systems in place, like your family. Back to your original question, why families are so important, because that family is going to be there to support you. And this is the last piece. This gets me to my last myth. The last myth is that, well, I can do this all on my own. Personal development is the end all be all, to quote Shakespeare. It's just not true. What do you mean, Travis? Personal development? It's like a $50 billion industry. It is rocketing. It is just incredible. And I'm not going to get into all, the details. I love personal development. I have tons of books. I read, I go to courses and trainings. Everything to me is personal development. I'm always learning and growing. That said, if it's all alone and you have an addiction, I'm saying you, not you, Steve, but one has an addiction, and workaholism is an addiction. What are you doing trying to tackle it alone? AA, the very first thing is to acknowledge that there is a God and he loves you and that you are not your addiction, that you're a child of God, and that you need help. And that's why you go to AA, for the support. So where's the support systems in America for workaholics? I don't see any.
No,
Do you?
because the workaholic doesn't let you find that support. It's like, I got to
That's
do
it.
it on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Good point.
don't get me wrong. We can talk economics. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology, and I do believe that capitalism is the best system, man-made system for economics. That's my belief, and you can disagree, and that's fine. We can go toe to toe on socialism and communism. Communism gets rid of God, though. That's one of the very first things. So if you're a man of faith, a woman of faith, you can't really believe in communism. And socialism is one step getting you closer. It's communism light. So capitalism, when it's checked, when people involved in a capitalistic society are able to give back, and they give, and they have charitable giving, when they're able to give back and help the poor and the needy and those, especially through churches and other charitable organizations, when we do these kinds of things, then we do not allow that capitalist pig that people, poo-hoo to take over. And we don't let the love of money, destroy and canker our soul. That said, it's the best system so that we can be motivated to be productive, to be a part of society, to give, because we're motivated by exchanging a value of money. It's how this works. It's just we need to make sure that we are giving back and we're charitable. And so I believe in tithing. I believe in giving to your church and to other charitable organizations, and I have. And I think that's the root of your podcast. This is just the heart of a servant. That's what we do. We need to serve and give, and it works that way. However, I think this is why workaholism is such a problem in the United States, is because when you only feed the pig and you don't give back and you don't know when to stop, because you get such accolades and rewards and high fives and likes and subscribes on your business, then it's really easy to wear that badge, because that's where the reward is. What I found, though, is if you can involve your spouse and your family as part of your recovery out of this workaholic trap, and it is a trap, but you can help get out of the trap, then you will stop relapsing back into the addictive behavior, because you have support systems firmly in place. So I'm starting with the family, and I have a PhD in family relations, as I mentioned. So I understand family dynamics, family relations, family systems. And what I suggest is you work with your spouse so that you can set boundaries. You can work on your time and make sure that you hold each other not only accountable for your time, but also the other direction is to help and support each other in achieving goals in all areas of life together as an eternal companionship.
Purpose needs to be part of your business mission statement too, and the meaning family purpose, excuse me. Yeah. That's got to be part of your purpose statement. And you're saying workaholics, and I've been there, and my dad's been there, and it's not part of it. It's just work, work, work. I think I'm doing it for family, but then you're big in this big gap that actually makes it worse. I love how you said that. And that leads to not being a workaholic, but you wrote a book, very successful. You've got your mission out there, got what you want to do to serve people. Why a second book?
So when you write any sort of business book, like if it's 300 pages, no one's going to read it. Hey. So when I got to 150 pages, I was like, you know what? This is a place where I need to stop, because I know that most business books, like you want it to be a good short read. You want it to be quality. I don't want to skimp on quality. But I got to the end of this book, and I ended with spouses and families can help support this workaholic with their time. What I didn't get into is how you work on not being a workaholic, long term, staying out of this workaholic trap by now working on goals for the future. I basically said, here's the outline. This is how you manage your time so you can kind of get out of the trap. But long term, how can you do this? And how can you grow and scale a business? Because so many business owners that I interviewed, and you don't have to be a business owner to understand these principles. you can utilize these principles in your own job or profession. But a lot of business owners struggle with this more than anyone else. So I wanted to help them with this second book. And the second book is called Balanced Growth. And you can pre-order it at balancedgrowthbook.com. Balance with the D at the end, balancedgrowthbook.com. And what I've found is that, those who really are able to keep balance long-term, again, we're focused as a couple. How can we help support each other? Dr. John Gottman is the world's foremost researcher and therapist in family relations and in couples, especially. And he has a love lab in Washington State where he brings couples in and he tests them and does all sorts of awesome research that really nobody else has done. It's so cool what he's done there. He's found that when couples get in an argument, the ones that turn away from each other, that turn to other things and literally physically turn away, they have a higher likelihood of divorcing. The ones who say, oh yeah, this is a problem. How can we solve this together? What can we do? How can we as a team move forward? Because this isn't blame game. He found that those individuals stay together at a significant difference. Okay. This is very telling. And over a long period of time, he's tracked these couples. And so it's longitudinal. So there's causation here. But the reality is that I took that and said, well, hold on. This is good. This is a good start. But why? Why? And he says, well, they need to support each other. And that's why they're this team. This teamwork is going on. And he said, well, you need to support each other in your personal goals that you have as different individuals, because you are different individuals, and you need to have shared couple goals. So I did a dissertation on this and said, well, let's stop looking at what's breaking up families. Let's find couples that are actually good at this, meaning they've survived, they have good marriages, they're thriving, and let's reverse engineer. And what I found is that with over like 3,500 couples in the United States, the ones that had shared values and goals versus the ones that didn't have as closely aligned shared values and goals. So the ones that had closer values and goals than the group that didn't, they had better psychological health, relational satisfaction, and financial stability. So that tells me they're happier individually. It's not just about the marriage. They don't give up their identity to be married. 2, they have a good relationship, an excellent relationship, very high satisfaction. Not just we're staying together because God says. No, they stay together because they love each other. And God says. 3 is that's actually all related to financial stability or better money management. And I'm a financial guy and I cared about that because that's still a big part of life. Everything touches money. And so as we realized that, hey, this is important, then I came back to my workaholics and found out that, if we only help them for 90 days, they're likely to fall back in the workaholic trap. Even if they have some spouse support with time, they have to be working together long-term to achieve goals outside of work, because that will keep them from falling back in the trap. And what's interesting, the second finding that we've found is that those business owners who have great balance, meaning they achieve things outside of work, they're more productive at work. They're more successful in their work. They're more purposeful in their work. And they therefore, they love their work more. Like they have this feeling of, I am serving the people I need to be serving. And because they got their family and their relationships and their relationship with God and their health in a better place, they're able to serve better at work.
I love that. We've run out of time here, but Travis, I want to thank you because family and business aren't talked about a lot, I guess, unless you're in counseling, which is, you get that far, there's issues, not that it can't be fixed, but let's get there, get them before it happens, because it's all the time. I mean, you talk to a CEO, he's not doing well. He probably has a family issue. Maybe it's a divorce, maybe a child problem, something like that. And that all has to be managed inside that business, whether individually or whatever. And that's what you do. So God bless what you're doing. It's yeoman's work. But thank you for being on as well.
I appreciate it. I feel like it is the work that I should be doing. It's the purpose that I have professionally, to be helping people find their purpose. So thank you, Stephen. Thank you for allowing me to be on to share the message.
So you're very welcome. And thank you all for listening. We'll hear or see you or talk to you in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.